Okay, so thank you for coming, everyone. This is the AI Literacy Workshop by the Open Knowledge Foundation. My name is Lucas Prati. I am the Communications and Advocacy Director here. You cannot see my name here because I'm managing the room, so I'm Open Knowledge. I'm really happy to have this crowd here because of many reasons. In the past few months, we've been working in a few different streams of work that now a few are joining and everything is coming together. First of all, we have been activating the School of Data project, which is the one-stop shop for everything data for the last 15 years. That was a little dormant for the past few years. And we are getting this community together again through a training for trainers that we did in the past 2 or 3 months. And now we have many representatives of different chapters and branches of School of Data here. So it's really good to have all your faces. We've been talking about having you guys for a long time. This is also kind of like a network initiative. We've been, as you know, like the Open Knowledge Network is present in more than 40 countries with different types of membership. We are currently discussing the model now, the governance model. And it's also good to see many of the faces here who are people who joined the network lately. There's someone who is with their audio open. If you guys can identify and mute, please. I don't know who is this person. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I think I was trying to mute someone. Okay, so the network, we have some representatives from the network here as well. And finally, we are developing the Open Data Editor, which is our, at the same time, the app that is allowing us to think about how to develop technology through the initiative that we are calling the Tech We Want. So we are trying to do things differently there. I'll let Renata explain more about this. And the Open Data Editor has just received a new version, which is AI, and which took us to the AI world as everyone else in our field, in our universe. But we are also trying to do AI differently. That's why we try to put together this workshop with many people who knows about digital literacy a lot in many parts of the world and in many different contexts. Also, we want to bring like their AI experience, which is kind of like new for everyone in a sense, new in the sense that is like 2 or 3 years only that we've been dedicating to that. And also open to everyone who also wants to maybe join the network and also expand our presence and our communities. So that's it, just a few words from me. Welcome everyone. I'll hand over to Renata Ávila, who is moderating this session. She's the CEO of the Open Knowledge Foundation. Over to you, Renata. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you, and thank you to all the participants for being so generous with your time. This is more a round table than an experts table, where so at any point, please feel free to jump in, to raise your hand if you want to share your ideas while we are discussing the questions and bring your experience in. Please do so, because this is uncharted territory and we are just exploring the topic. I think that one of the things that struck me when I was faced with the challenge of developing an AI literacy curricula was the lack of like how vast this universe is, and how different it is to navigate this universe than from my past experiences with privacy, cybersecurity, and even data literacy. The quantity of efforts and the different approaches that I found out there from attempts from universities, to attempts from public sector, specific sectors on how to teach, how to create literacy or literacies around AI are very different from the data literacy set, because they're like very dispersed. Many of them are very pro-corporate or corporate-driven. Many of the reactions to this pro-corporate-driven narrative around AI has been the response from many sectors in the civil society and activism with very radical approaches and on do not use it, do not touch it, don't even explore it. And in fact, unlike data literacy, what we have faced at the foundation is an increased demand from a far more varied group of people, asking us for directions, asking us for guidance, and asking us for practical approaches where they want to, on the one hand, remain, respectful of human rights, ethical, respectful with the planet, but on the other hand, they're really wanting to get their hands dirty and explore these new technologies. Other things that I have encountered when trying to navigate this is that most of the materials still are English only, and many of the materials age rapidly. Materials that have been developed 2019, 2020 even, are no longer applicable to the realities that we are navigating today. And it is not that you can really build upon or just quickly update and tweak, because many of the materials, and even high quality materials, the technology has had such leaps in the last 5 years that many of the materials on the initial data literacy, the AI literacy, are by now obsolete. So that's why we convey this meeting. We convey this meeting because we want to learn from you, basically. We want to learn from you on what you're seeing in your environment, the efforts to address this big knowledge gap that we are facing, that you're taking. And we want also to explore in the areas that we can really collaborate, work together, and find strategic points of convergence where we could advance literacy in a way that is more like as it was the School of Data, more like an ecosystem where we all share experiences, and those the discoveries and the good methodologies that are found in place A can be disseminated to more places, and we can take advantage of not take advantage, but we can all enjoy a better digital environment thanks to the efforts of all of you. So we will start very quickly with a round of introductions from our speakers. And I would like to start with Ketty. Is Ketty back online? No? Yes?
Hey.
Yes, with Ketty from Uganda, who has been, she will introduce herself, but she has been around a long time, is one of the most experienced data to AI literacy builders that I know. Welcome, Ketty, and the floor is yours to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your work.
Thank you, Renata, and thank you for the invitation to contribute my perspective to AI literacy. I familiar met in the past. I can see Nika, I can see Juan. I think we've met in the past of the activities. So my name is Ketty Adoch, a technologist and a geographist. My work involves helping organizations and companies make the most of geospatial data. I also do that through the initiation of literacy. I'm excited to be here and to learn more about each of your work. Thank you.
And let's follow with Nika from Latvia, who's running also data and AI literacy efforts from a long time ago.
Thank you. Thank you, Renata. So DatuSkola is the literal translation of School of Data. We created a branch in 2017. And indeed, now we are taking a journey from data literacy to AI literacy. We are about to start a series of meetups where my colleague Ivis, who is also in the crowd and has joined this meeting, will be sharing his experience with AI tools as well as me, and we will be joined by other aspiring professionals in the field of data, but not only, to understand the vast capacity and the vast world of capabilities AI enables us, but also understand pitfalls it could lead us to. So this is up for us in the coming months. And as of now, we have been sharing our first takes on data literacy to AI literacy through blogs, mostly authored by Ivis as well. And yeah, that's so we are at the beginning of the journey with a few takeaways already, and happy to share it and learn from others on this roundtable.
Thank you, Nika. It is very interesting that I think that many at this table will share this journey from data literacy to AI literacy, and I think that the learning path will be will vary from what our current realities. I will ask a follow-up question around that, but I just have a question about the meetups. Are the meetups online, or are you going to do the meetups in person?
So we want to do meetups in person to have also relationship building more efficient. But online meetups are also on the table, but we want to start with physical meetups.
And thank you. And now we will go to the other side of the world. Dr. Gupta, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about you and your efforts around AI literacy.
Hi, hello everyone. I am Nakul Gupta. Thank you, Renata, Lucas. I think it has been an amazing journey with OKFN and the open data initiatives which are going on, and it has been inspiring for me to be a part of this. So I am an associate professor at Management Development Institute, Gurgaon, India, and I'm in the information management area here. So again, as other speakers have said, particularly as Nika has said, that we are a B school wherein we are moving from digital literacy in business to AI literacy. And that is going on in different domains. I am now part of the recently established Center of Excellence on AI and ML, wherein one of the focus areas has been responsible AI and open AI initiatives. So what we are trying to do is very simple. We are trying to learn both from industry as well as academia, and we are trying to distill all those things. We are trying to distill all those learnings into comprehensible modules, which can be part of our curriculum of our long-term programs, short-term programs, trainings, and meetups that we do at a city level with our alumni and other stakeholders. And I think the interesting thing is that the modules and the material that we develop get outdated every month. That's what is happening in the world of AI. And we are engaging with a lot of not-profits. We're engaging with a lot of governments in our initiatives, and I think it's a mutually learning journey. And I'm happy to contribute, happy to, let's say, take this thing and share what we've been doing specifically with the data and other applied open data initiatives that have been going on.
Thank you. And last but not least, one of our, oldest partners, Juan Manuel Casanova, who is the head of the Escuela de Datos in Mexico, but also working in many countries in Latin America. Over to you, Juan Manuel.
I'm really happy to be here and see some of you. We have been in touch for a while. Yes, I run SocialTIC based in Mexico City, and also we have the School of Data in Spanish, which is the Escuela de Datos. And yeah, our journey has been interesting in terms of AI literacy, because after over a decade of having data and digital literacy, especially focused to support civil society and journalists and rights advocates in their technology adoption processes, we identified that, yes, there were many questions, and we started seeing some uses of AI in our sector. And this year we started doing two things. We did, in terms of like about diagnosis of Latin American use of AI in the civil society space. We did a boring form in which we asked people about how they were using and what their needs about the AI was. And we also did some focus groups, which were much more exciting because through interactions, they were all both online and also offline. My colleague Adrian Carrera is running those. And we started having a dynamic of learning also by sharing in a collaborative form. And besides having the workshop format, and that has been really, really interesting. And I would love to talk about that later on. So great to be here.
Thank you, so without further, I think that everybody is being introduced. I didn't introduce myself. I'm the CEO of Open Knowledge Foundation. And this is a topic that I took personally because the moment that you realize that even the members of your family who have been like completely like anti-technology and disconnected from everything tell you that they have been using this now available from a lot of people AI tools, and you realize that they are doing in a ways that are not really the clever ones, you realize that this is going to see this is we have a small window of opportunity to get the AI literacy right. And I think that my initial question to all of you would be like, when was the moment? When was the moment in time, or the situation that led you realize that AI literacy or the lack of really matter in your work or in your community? And which were the actions that you took around it when you realized that you started talking about some of those actions, but I would like to hear more. How are you tackling it, and when did you realize the need? And more importantly, where are the communities? Where do you think the need, where AI literacy is more needed right now, and why? I know there's a big question. When did you start it? Why, and which communities should be like prioritized? Let's start in a different order with Dr. Gupta, and then we will move to the others.
Thank you, Renata. I think that's a very important question to ponder. The moment when we realize that we need to, let's say, switch from digital literacy to AI literacy, or we understood that we are lacking something and we need to specifically focus on AI literacy. For us, our community encompasses a lot of business users, emerging business leaders, social leaders, and who come to us for education, for short-term, long-term education. So I think there have been a couple of moments wherein all these users thought that they no longer now know how to take full advantage of the tools that they're using. So whether it is a simple tool such as an Excel or a PowerPoint, or complex tools such as a visual studio, they realize that there is something missing. Features are available, but they somehow are not able to leverage that to the max. And that is when they realize that there is something which is missing. Probably their peers across the globe are doing, and they need to learn about it. And when they started to learn it themselves, somehow they felt a need for hand-holding. They felt that they can't just learn it themselves, and they need structured hand-holding, a peer mentoring, and examples which can tell them that this is a path that can be walked. They wanted someone to show this thing to them, that this is how a tool works, this is how the data infrastructure and a use case come together so that a particular model can be trained and they can leverage that particular part, right? So for example, I remember talking to BFSI, banking, finance, and allied industries, wherein people said that there are vendors coming to us and pitching us AI solutions, but we don't know how to evaluate those solutions. We don't know what parameters to look at, how to ask them, how to evaluate them, and then how to train our own stakeholders to adapt and also use these new solutions. So I think it's this I think, gap which was there in applying the tools, whether it is the updates coming in tools or the vendors reaching out or just peers, both nationally and internationally, telling them that this is something that they are doing, but is not being done at our organization. That is when that need was actually echoed to us, and we felt that we also should move from a simple MIS or digital tools in business to, let's say, AI enabled or AI tools, and should work towards its literacy and build that inherently in our programs, both short term and long term, and also the pedagogy, which probably we can talk a little later. But I think the content and delivery both is important when it comes to literacy.
Thank you. If you want later to share any links in the chat, it will be great. I have a focus connected to this to Nika, because I mean, the context of India is very different from the context of Latvia, and in Europe we have been, like, you know, through a lot of conversations, not only on the technical aspects of AI, but also the ethical and political aspects of, even geopolitical aspects of AI. So the same question to you: when did the Escuela de Datos, School of Data in Latvia, started realizing the need to jump from data literacy to AI literacy? What triggered it, and what has been your approach to that so far?
Yeah, looking in retrospect, actually, we were starting to playing around with AI, say, domain, actually since the very beginning. So we were exploring, there was a project we wanted to contribute that would measure food waste. And the solution we were exploring was computer vision. So the school children, before they leave their half-eaten plates, are showing it to camera, and we can assess the food waste in schools. Then also we played around with machine learning in a sense that we were building kind of predicting model for citizen initiatives. There is this platform, My Voice, where it's basically a petition platform, and we were playing around suggestion algorithm so that people who are interested in one issue can think and vote for, against, or abstain in other initiatives as well, and thus drive popularity for that platform. So it happened, well, my world is very much circled around before COVID and after COVID. So that was before COVID. And after COVID, another kind of moment when I realized we will need to assess AI literacy when the deep fakes became a buzzword. And also there was a case when, perhaps you have heard about Aleksejeva, who is now dead, but before he was incarcerated, and his ally, Leonid Volkov, was in Europe, and there were these Russian pranksters who impersonated him and had calls with European, different Western officials in different European countries and institutions. And these institutions then claimed that deepfake was used, while in fact it was just basic makeup and the tilt of camera that made the actor look like Leonid Volkov. So the liar's dividend, or kind of the calling for the wolf, what was there as an aspect of how you can exploit the very fact that AI has a capability of reproducing someone's identity. But at that point, we assessed that the resources weren't there to actually do that live on a live video. And it was 2021. And fast forward now in 2025, we already see that this is very much possible. And this is taking place probably like the deepfakes before 4 or 5 years ago are now the cheap fakes we see nowadays. Luckily, there are patterns how we can distinguish between AI-generated content and not, but capabilities are there. And if we go back to data literacy, because here I was talking more about generative AI, maybe in audiovisual sense. For data literacy, acknowledgement of hallucinations, and AI being like an assistant that wants to please you however it wants. These are very big pitfalls that are very much rooted in our psychology. We want to, the confirmation bias is a very strong one, and AI is playing into that voluntarily, involuntarily, but it's there. And so self-criticism needs to be there at all times. And if we were struggling with it before, and if we are struggling with it like with every data project, when we envision some results already, and then there's sometimes an urge to make results more meaningful than they appear in reality, then AI may generate these results just to please us. And understanding this hallucination probability, and also develop means to spot it at the right time is something that we all need to develop, and that will be the constant struggle.
And thank you so much. I mean, that speaks very closely to many of us, I think. And even if the adoption in some countries has been like slower, like the people with bad intentions catch up really quickly and seize these opportunities. And then we have the danger of regulation that is misinformed and so on. But I'm also very curious. One of the things that worries to me the most is like, I was born in a time when internet was not available to people. I mean, the web as we know it didn't exist. That's how old I am. But now kids entering the school system for the first time face a very, very, very different environment than the environment of those who didn't access the internet. And I know that Valerie Brock is doing a fantastic work in helping people everywhere from this age group, from 5 to 18, from around 5 to around 18, to navigate this world better with something that is very close, very similar to something that we organize every day. Every year. We have every year the Open Data Day. Valerie hosts something called the Day of AI, and she's going to introduce herself. I'm sorry, I skipped you. And tell us more about that, because it's very exciting, and it might be something that we need to replicate and adopt and join very soon. Valerie, over to you.
Hi, I'm Valerie Brock. I lead curriculum development at Day of AI, which was founded by MIT in 2021. Although it is called a Day of AI, it is a call to action for schools, community-based organizations to stop and teach AI literacy lessons to all children and educators and educational stakeholders. We work with many schools in the US, but we also work with specific countries outside of the US. We get contacted every day regarding our curriculum, receiving requests for translation and assistance to bring AI literacy to the masses. And yeah, it's definitely interesting work, because when people hear AI literacy, they automatically think writing and reading, and they don't realize that, we mean teaching kids what AI is, how it works, the role of data in AI, and basically how they could be ethical and responsible users. And because we have to work with the children, we have to work with the teachers first to get them to understand the importance. So that has been a challenge, because in education, there are many educators who are completely shutting it off and not understanding, and think we're trying to sell them on a large language model or a tool, but we're really just trying to teach them what AI is and how it works. So that is one of our challenges. And thank you for sharing our website.
The website is amazing, and I'm going to share the resources because I guess at a first glance, many of the things that you're using for kids actually fit perfectly for us when we need to learn and to, for example, teach the basics to a room full of public service people, or like it is very, 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 very well developed. And it's very interesting that many of the resources that you have are not something that we think in the foundation that is very important. Is not only to understand the technical part of AI, but also understand the impact in society, the legal consequences, the potential damages, and so on. So thank you so much for sharing. And it is. I want to go back to Ketty because in Africa, it's like in what I have been like in the initiatives I have been involved with and in the works that I have been involved with, is that two parallel tracks. One track it is with a big push by universities, private sector, and so on AI. And at the same time, Africa still has some of the most fragile energy grids and also big connectivity gap. So I want to hear from Ketty. So when did you start developing AI literacy, and how was the change from data and AI literacy, and how is like the reality on the ground in Uganda right now?
Public data, the adults have been around working with data, satellite images, visuals, and but the applications have been mostly around environmental projects. So what I realized along the way during these projects is that in some instances, the data sets, the representation is not usually truthful, and when it the workflow with different models and algorithms, and then the workflows, the result of the data that is not noticeable of what is on the ground, finding that results are usually biased, and that there's an indication of potential users.
Ketty, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the audio is cutting off. So if we don't want to miss the important things that you're saying, so could you repeat the last part?
About that. So let us working with satellite images, an AI kind of workflow where you work with different algorithms to make sense of geography data. And in some instances, when I look at the area of study or the places on the ground, the data sets that are represented are usually not representative of what on. So the day the results may be biased, results from to be biased. At that point is when I realize it's actually very important for data sets that feed into the local keys that I workflow is captures a lot of things locally, from cultural perspective, the language, the presentations on the ground, as opposed to data sets that may be formulated from other locations So at that point, I felt it's actually important to educate people about the limitations of AI and the power of quantitative data in working with AI workflows.
Thank you, Ketty. And now I will go. I mean, if you, it was very helpful for all of us because it was at some point a little bit cut. If you could, if it's not too much to ask, if you could paste your written answer in the chat, so we make sure that we got it clear. I want to go back to Juan Manuel. When did you start like doing this jump from just data literacy to AI literacy? What triggered it? And if it was a specific thing, and how are you unfolding it now?
I think I missed some of what you said. Could you say the question again?
Yes, Ketty. Just if you could also type the answer in the chat because we couldn't get your full response because it was cutting. The audio was a little bit cut.
Okay, let me do that.
Juan Manuel, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me there? Yes. Yes. Hope we don't have any more technical issues there. We basically have like 4 points we have been involved with AI literacy. First of all, many of the projects we were doing regarding data science, image recognition, text analysis, pattern recognition back in 2023, as different AI tools with Gen AI tools started popping out. We started saying, okay, can we do the same things with the Gen AI tools and platforms? No? So that was a big eye-opening on the data science community. Also in that year, on the regulatory and awareness space, and they had to do more with digital rights, especially when the AI ban started went out and was tried to be done. There were a lot of questions about regulation, and we got like from civil society driven into that AI conversations, and that led to a boom of AI regulation conversations, having the multilateral and sometimes countries working on that and asking also civil society what was on our take regarding regulation, privacy, and other digital rights there. And that led to a big context of speaking about regulation, especially last year in 2024. And also in 2024, we saw the use of AI and adoption, but also very interesting debates from the journalists sector in Latin America. If you went to any journalist conference in Latin America, there was speaking about like AI. You had like the first innovations using AI in journalists. There were the big debates on how to use it and how to document it, and we identified there as something as really, really important. But with civil society, and I'll finish with this, we identified that it was a bit slower. There were some civil society groups in Latin America that were skeptical about it. They were weary about the risks, social and also environmental risks. And we started also to identify the need for guidance for them to approach this new technology spaces. So that's basically our deep dive into AI literacy there.
When we start, identifying the need and the need for guidance, one of the insecurities we have, honest insecurities we have at Open Knowledge Foundation, is the claim of expertise. It was very easy to claim expertise in data. I mean, data is data science. It's very straightforward. When you think about AI, it touches so many things. And when I see the claim, oh, I'm an AI expert, I'm always dubious because it is what do you really mean with AI expertise? Are you developing AI? Are you trying to understand how to govern this variety of technologies that entail so many things? And so one of the things that and the reasons why we convey this initial workshop is we have a big challenge ahead to curate what is just smoke or noise, or what is like a really trusted material that we can point at our communities to. And also, how can we create a path to literacy where people start equipped with the basic tools, and then they can grow their understanding, but also their critical thinking around these technologies that are everywhere. And there's no clear answer, because there's like some specific curriculum for specific communities, and some very general materials that, as I mentioned before, get outdated. Not enough translations, not enough localization, and the only way out of this very complicated problem is to try to build community again. Try to build community and share what is working, what is not working, and share among trusted partners the good materials that we are producing. Of course, everything that Open Knowledge Foundation produces is open to everyone to localize and reproduce. And many of the organizations here follow the same approach. But in this roundtable, what I would like to understand better from you is, right now, with which communities are you working in this transition to AI literacy? What is working? What is not working? Which are like the identified challenges? And if you had more support or more resources, where would you like to take it next? I know that many of you we are at different stages, and we are in different local realities. But I think it will be very interesting to share the successful approaches, what it hasn't worked really well, and the communities that you're working with, and the communities that you wish to work with, but you haven't had the time to develop dedicated curricula around. To circle back in different order, let's now go again to Juan Manuel, and then we will go on reverse order as we went in the last round. Yeah. So in summary, what's working, what's not working, who are you working with, what's next, with more resources, what would you do around AI literacy?
Wonderful. I think that, yeah, we have a really good opportunity to support others as our role in digital and AI literacy agents, in a way, because we know that AI is not a good AI is not just writing a good prompt or using a tool. It goes beyond that, as Renata said, and it goes beyond that and into more strategical efforts and capacities. So one of the things we are thinking very hard within the SocialTIC team, and you'll see here in the participant list, Adrian and Omar, which are on the team, is how to take advantage of the need of AI capacity building to also talk about much more in-depth capacities, which is strategic thinking, how to make a question, how to understand what do you need in order to solve a problem. And it goes back to fundamental education sometimes. No? So that is one of the approach we are still debating how to go about, and even though we are supporting adults and professional civil society and journalists, that is still key. No, so that's really fundamental. It's really, really important. The second thing has to do with not to get sucked down into all the potential either services, apps, or prompt debates, because I mean that is never ending. No, it will be never ending. When one of the things we're trying to focus is to see if there are AI solutions that are really good for certain processing and analysis, yes, we can actually talk about that solution. But in general, we have to support the literacy on having people understand what actually they need and they need the tool to do. And I know that's not that's not new for any of us, but it's right now a challenge because you have so much about a lot of AI tools popping out everywhere. And there, the collaborative approach to reaching that knowledge, we have found through the focus groups we have been doing with civil society groups, that is really important, especially when we talk about like specific and specific needs that come across different groups. For instance, we are seeing that many civil society groups are working with AI differently to understand the legislative texts with different tools. So it's easier to build a collaborative approach on knowledge than for us as specialists to become the experts on how to use AI in legislation analysis. So building those circles, spaces of understanding on how to use AI is a way that we think that will be helpful to solve and to build better understanding of the tools, but also in their challenges, but also to foster like the better community adoption of AI. And lastly, critical thinking. Critical thinking is something we identify that is something we have to that is there in civil society because we are critical thinkers. That's why we're in civil society. But when we go into any digital adoption or any tool adoption, including AI, it becomes much more relevant. So we have to have the answers for those critical thinkers we are supporting, but we also have to help them channel their critical thinking in terms of like basic decision making. What tool, due to their ethical responsibilities and principles, is better to use or not? How to use it? If you know that is having a toll and has effects on social and environmental issues. No, so all those critical adoption issues regarding AI literacy is something is really important, and it's something we're talking a lot internally, and I think we should do it much more at a ecosystem level to see how to approach these overall issues.
Thank you, Juan Manuel. And one question: how is the gap with Spanish resources? I guess that I will not even ask you about indigenous languages in Mexico and Central America because probably there's very little about it. But have you found difficulties in finding context-relevant materials in Spanish to support your trainings?
Yes, and it's amazing to see that there is a gap there, a language gap, even with Spanish, which is spoken by like hundreds of millions of people. But when you go into much more detail in terms of context, understanding of different kinds of knowledge, and also prompts, even prompts, it does make a difference, and there is a lagging issue there. We see many Spanish speakers working with English prompts because it understands them better sometimes, even in Spanish. And there is a big also challenge with certain knowledge communities and also certain language communities in which they are debating themselves if they should pull themselves and give all their knowledge to the big corporate AI platforms, and so they can actually be better in terms of results, or if we should do autonomous and much more possibly complex and solutions based on AI for our own local and language needs.
I will go now to Nika because it's very interesting. Latvian is a small language. I mean, if you compare it to Spanish, of course. And I guess that then I would like to know more with the communities that you're prioritizing and that you're working with. What is working with those communities? What is not? And also the challenges, context-specific challenges related to language availability of programs, political situation, everything that you can share in common on the approaches that you are taking for AI literacy.
Sure. So as I said, we are just at the beginning of community-driven AI literacy building. So what I can share is data from a public survey about how confident people in Latvia feel about AI. An interesting overarching takeaway is that the more educated and the more wealthy you are, the more confidence you have in AI. In terms of self-assessment, that you are able to use these tools, but also believe that AI will bring something good and that it will not bring us to kind of the doomsday Terminator scenario. And the least educated, living in rural area and also older you are, the more skeptical and keeping AI at arm's length away you are. So this is kind of the general sentiment in Latvian society. Regarding language capabilities, I can share my personal experience. I was using AI to understand legal implications for a court case that I'm currently involved in. This is just a regular neighbor squirrel, but unfortunately it took us to a court. And I see that AI, and I was using one of the kind of popular and not open, but freemiumly available models. And actually I was using two. I'm not sure if I should name them, not to promote particular companies or tools. Okay, I can probably. It was ChatGPT and Google Gemini, and they gave me, so they were quoting particular how you call it, basically laws, and I had a reference to check myself and understand if I have a chance if I go to a court. So I was actually surprised how aware or how capable it is to figure out kind of legal issues. It wasn't ideal because when I went to a lawyer, the case was actually much more favor than AI presented it to me at first. But in general terms, it gave me a good direction. So, and this is like very local and actually hyper-local case. So I haven't used it for a political issue, to explore political issues, but currently working on a case where we are exploring Baltic and Georgia relationships, given the political turn Georgia is now taking. And we are testing 12 different large language models to see how well they understand these, geopolitical dynamics between two geographical areas. And the responses to the prompts in Georgian are like almost all. LLMs also struggle with providing good responses in Russian, and of course, the best they are in English. So I can second what Juan Spanish. Russian is also big enough language, and LLMs are struggling with it. So I guess it really depends on how specific your prompting task is, but probably shouldn't develop much because this idea, because these are two specific cases and I don't want to draw like general conclusions. So if I were to have resources to work and improve data literacy in Latvia, I would definitely try to go to rural areas and work with people who are in their career changes, because what AI also allows is to be your guide and tutor, and to help people. Like, also there are surveys that say that young people are using AI for life advice, while older people are using it instead of Google. So sometimes when you are in need of a guide or a tutor, you can also use AI, also acknowledging, of course, all the pitfalls and taking responsibility yourself and not overly relying on AI. But nevertheless, it can provide help and kind of extend the resources that we usually lack when it comes to continuous coaching of people that need to make their career changes. Yeah, that's more of a kind of direction rather than any particular project that we are taking now.
Thank you, Nika. And I will go to Valerie because I'm very curious to understand more what is working with young people, what is not working. If you have more resources, what would you like to do? And tell us more about, because it's fascinating, the day of AI and the broad reach to those who I think that right now need it the most, because the future is all about this, and that is starting the learning processes.
Thank you. So some things that are working come from a school leader or a district leader that understands the need for this, and then, you know, makes it mandated in the area. Because unfortunately in the US, education is so decentralized that every state here is a different country, and it becomes very competitive. So when we work with countries, like right now, two of my coworkers are in Colombia bringing AI literacy training to 1,000 teachers across Colombia so they could bring it back to their classrooms. Similarly, a couple of weeks ago, my other coworker was in Rwanda doing the same thing. And, you know, what works is that the leaders, the school leaders, the ministries of education understand and see the need, and that's the most successful. What's also working is when we find subject areas that are already being taught, to bring in AI literacy. So, for example, we're working on some new lessons for middle grades that the teacher might be in the middle of a math unit, but we are giving them embedded points where they could introduce AI literacy, how AI works, or maybe have a discussion about data and how AI uses data. So that has been very successful, and we hope to have lessons like that embedded across subject areas across all the ages. But one big thing is that, of course, time. Educators feel, you know, that the other subjects are so much, like, they don't see the importance yet. So, you know, they're refusing to find time, or the school leader is refusing to find time. And another big challenge is that I think it's been the pattern we are seeing is that, you know, it's very hard to teach little ones about AI literacy if you don't fully understand it yourself. So we've actually had to, although our focus is children, we do a lot of trainings for educators and school leaders and all educational stakeholders. And now we have family resources, because how could we ask these people to teach the kids if they're not fully grasping it themselves? And we're partnered with an organization that's based out of the US, but I think also they have offices outside of the US, called Common Sense Media. And they're a very big family-based organization and do a lot of lobbying around digital safety, digital citizenship. And we created a family toolkit with them and a video. And of course, we're working on translated materials. We have some, but we're just looking for all entry points, because we're at the point where we can't not have this conversation. especially with children, because we feel that we kind of didn't have these conversations when social media was introduced to society. And, you know, we're kind of looking at it at the same moment. Like, we have to meet the moment. And, you know, as you were saying, someone was saying there's a lot of kids referring to AI chatbots for companionship, but they need to understand what they're actually talking to. So we have some lessons on AI and human connection, which we also released, that are meant for older students. That's where the research shows. And there are pros and cons to that. But yeah, I think overall, the biggest challenge is just finding one specific activity or curriculum that kind of helps everyone, which is impossible, but also finding the time and someone to lead that work for us, or to you know, own it for the area. Because if there isn't someone pushing forth in the school setting, it's not going to be successful.
Thank you so much, Valerie. I think this is, I was checking the Day of AI, and the good news for the community attending this call is that most of the materials are under a Creative Commons non-commercial license, and that enables you to localize it, adapt it to your needs. And the interesting thing will be like to also provide feedback and circle back and say, like, you know, I changed these pieces in the curricula, it triggered a lot of interest, so I updated this. And we want also at the Open Knowledge Foundation to bring back that spirit that we have with the School of Data. And on if you find good AI literacy materials, share with us so we can share with more people. If you localize something, share it back. I think that as you were saying, Valerie, I think that the takeaway of this is that we are living a similar moment that like the social media moment, and with the added complexity that now people need cumulative literacies, because not only the AI literacy is the media literacy and also the data literacy. So maybe other literacies as well, but these three will be like the key pillars to navigate the new challenges. I want to go back to Dr. Gupta and ask the same question, and then we will open up the floor for shared experiences and questions from the audience.
Thanks, Renata. I think I agree with and will build on what Valerie just said. See, for us, given that we have an academic setting, what is really working is the application of AI in real world case studies. It used to take us time to update study material, but with Gen AI and Gen AI natively integrated into a lot of platforms, it has really worked out. That's something which is working. Second thing is that given the local language context, and here in India and the Indian subcontinent, we have a lot of languages, and a lot of translation is required for official work, both in terms of translating documents as well as translating and transcribing. So I think we have native LLMs which are now coming up, and that's something really, really good. A link to one of them I've just pasted in the chat. Now, while they are working well, they also come with their own challenges. And for someone who comes from a non-tech background, it becomes a little difficult to implement. So for example, in the kind of, let's say, LLM I've pasted, currently it's working really well if we work it through an API, but if we are working through their web interface, so we only can work with the textual version for transcription. We can't work with a PDF version or an image version. So we have to use different LLM to extract text out of it, and then a different LLM to get the translation done. Now, these are very small challenges, and over a period of time, I think as AI evolves, these will be taken care of. But we need to understand that if we are empowering learners, right, we need to first be very adept at these tools and build the learning material accordingly. Now, coming back to what is really also working well for us is an interdisciplinary approach. So for example, we are blending AI concepts with ethics, policy, business, and social sciences so that we have a holistic understanding. And this has also led to the way how our collaborations are happening, the way how open data and open educational resources are being developed, and how our community outreach, specifically the programs which are, let's say, targeting underrepresented groups, rural learners, or learners who are coming with different languages and cultures, I think it has become easier for us to communicate with them and teach them. Now, what is still a challenge is one, the rapid pace with which technology is evolving and updating curriculum accordingly, access and equity in terms of, let's say, diversity of both in-person and online learners who are there. Uh, Different people come with different skill gaps. So making sure that their needs, their learning needs are addressed with the technology, particularly AI in this context, in an appropriate manner, in a timely manner, is something that we are now looking at. And herein I would like to probably also just add on that the challenge for us, given the business learner context, becomes more because their organization provides them with different AI tools and we prescribe them different AI tools. So they sometimes wonder that I am learning on one tool, but I might be deploying another tool. So there is always this mismatch. So bridging this mismatch is also important. One of the things that we've done is, before starting the course, we now have an assessment survey. It's just a pilot that we've done on the kind of AI tools that they're using. So before starting the teaching, if we have an assessment of that, we know how we have to tailor the delivery of the content or the teaching in terms of more relevance to maximum number of users, right? So that's one thing that we recently started doing. The other thing is integration with existing curricula. Now, coming from an information management background, we have to go ahead and keep ourselves updated. But somebody coming from a marketing background, a finance background, a supply chain background, and other backgrounds, public policy, economics, now therein the first principles remain the same. So the demand and supply will remain the same. The concept of diminishing returns will remain the same. But how to integrate AI so that something can be taught a little better is something which is now being looked at. And I think after a certain time, after the initial euphoria of deploying AI or learning AI is taken care of, I think it is a little difficult to keep up the learning motivation high. What happens is that after a few initial lessons, when people know that we have now a working knowledge, they stop thinking critically. So this is exactly what I think Juan was also talking about, right? That it is important that we do not forget that the critical thinking, the critical reasoning, and the logical aspects are not left somewhere when we are focusing too much on tool. So this is something that we have now realized, and we are now trying to address it so that it's a balance of tool as well as the critical concepts important for going ahead in a particular domain. So that's what is happening. And the last part is that, given a little more resources, what we would like to do. So I think one is we would like to support localized projects which are working on native language LLMs. A lot of work is also happening by the local government. But I think if we are able to do our bit, I think that is one thing. The second thing is that we would like to also pilot community-led initiatives, as we did with Open Data Day. I think that has a lot of positive ripples in the community, both in terms of motivation to learn and motivation to contribute to educational resources. And last is, I think we need to focus a lot on ethics and rights training, digital rights training. So that's about it from my side.
Thank you. As we finish this round, I would like to open up the floor for some questions, comments, and interactions from the audience. If you want to speak, there's an icon where you have like the headphones icon. You have to click there and connect your audio to be able to speak. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to address them. In the meantime, while you are considering your questions, I just want to comment that we will keep digging deeper at the Open Knowledge Foundation around AI literacies, and our next step is to launch a survey, collaborative survey, where we aim at curating what is good and already out there in open licenses to gain AI literacies. So we will launch, a survey inviting any organization that has materials, methodologies, videos, curricula around AI literacy to add it, and we will try to classify it and organize it. Because again, it will be a very good not to duplicate efforts, to localize the good stuff, and to learn from each other. You will hear from us soon. Any question, any comment from the audience?
Yeah, I would like to share something about the status of AI use in Nepal. I will be a bit more brief. Can I start? Okay. Yeah. So, in terms of policy, Nepal has drafted the National AI Policy 2025, and this is the first official step toward AI governance. But this policy has a lot of weak points, and this all of the policies there is no funding mechanism, and there is no ensure that all will be funded. That is the gap of the policy. Regarding sectoral application, banking, finance are using AI, and media and communication, there is use of AI. For example, in transcription, in translation, and content moderation. And then media have been using the sketches from using different AI tool. In healthcare, there is a use of AI. That is the present situation of application of AI in Nepal. And I would like to highlight some challenges. While talking about challenges, there is a privacy, there is a breach of privacy, misinformation, and bias in the AI, programming. That is what you observed. And in terms of responsible AI indicator, Nepal is far below the standard. That is why I think Nepal needs to develop its own policy to regulate the use of AI, and it needs to ensure that all the works needs to be ethical, responsible, and then it should not kind of cross the national boundary or some it should not cross the legal boundaries and human rights principles. And AI technology should ensure that all the national law, international humanitarian principles, and international human rights law should be respected and adhered. This is something that Nepal should kind of introduce a policy toward it. Yeah, this is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Umesh, and thank you, Valerie, for your collaboration. We will keep in touch. And I guess that if there's more comments, if there's no more comments or questions, Oleg, do you have a comment or question?
Not particular. I'm happy I could chime in a little bit about going from School of Data to School of AI, so to speak, in Switzerland, if you want.
Oh, please go ahead and share with us. As we start to wrap up.
Okay, it's very spontaneous, but I mean, look, I'm in the middle of organizing something called Swiss AI Weeks, kind of like an open data day, I guess, of sorts. We're trying to set up a period of time during which people have the chance to bring forward their concerns and questions, but also their ideas and opportunities. That will be September, so all of September, basically, and so all around the countries, there are going to be a whole bunch of events. As you know, I've been promoting the School of Data and working with the Swiss chapter of Open Knowledge for many years. I think that as a community, we are a little bit overwhelmed, frankly, by the needs. We're just being pulled on all sides for questions of compliance and legality and how to regulate and how to promote and how to choose and so on. There's going to be, I think, a very important referendum in Switzerland next month, which is the AID vote, which is kind of polarizing the country around digital topics of access and verifiability, trustworthiness, and authoritativeness being at the center of the debate about a lot of the debate around AI. I think it's going to be quite important. What I'm not seeing yet a lot about is the whole climate aspects. I mean, obviously, energy transition and the use of energy in AI is a big topic. I'll be at the climate strike in a couple of weeks, and then I can tell you more. I'll see if there's anyone carrying a banner to shut down the AI farms. But yeah, definitely, it's still a very alarming trend, that the consumption of energy by data centers. And I mean, Switzerland is one of those countries that has such a huge global footprint when it comes to all kinds of commodities and trading, so on. But I mean, data services are definitely a huge and growing part of that footprint. So I think people want to really be aware of that. They would like to really collect the data, understand it, just make AI a little bit more tangible, not controllable in every sense, but definitely less of a black box, reliable, reproducible. So I think that we should mention the main reason we're having these Swiss AI Weeks now is because we're helping to launch something very much like what you just shared, Nakul, the sovereign AI. So there's going to be a model being launched by the Swiss universities. It's a very international cooperation, over hundreds of people involved in this, and we're really looking forward to not just having a very open data, open source, open weights model that is very compliant with EU regulation and Swiss regulation, but also a model that promises to be very culturally diverse, having 1,000 languages built in, having a lot of great content in there that helps facilitate cultural understanding. It looks great, it sounds great. Ask me in October or come to one of the hackathons I'm helping to set up, and I'll let you know how it actually works. But that's basically what I'm up to.
Thank you, Oleg, and document everything so we can copy the best and avoid the worst of it. And I think that that's we gain all from shared experiences. I want to close the event with a quick roundtable on your takeaways. What are you leaving with from the speakers? And attendees can share it as well in the chat. I will do the oral roundup with the speakers. What is your takeaway after this shared experience around AI literacy? I will start with my takeaway. My takeaway that really blew my mind is that unfortunately Valerie left, but I think that her analogy that we are in a similar moment and of the early social media adoption, and we can get the things right this time, is what I'm taking with me, and a lot of reflections on what we can do about it. What about you, Ketty? What is your takeaway after this conversation?
Yeah, this has been a really interesting conversation for me. I've learned what's happening across different places, and relating it to what's going on in Uganda. I actually realized that the AI literacy, should I call it a program, is just starting off in most places. And for Uganda and probably Africa, I feel that we need to kind of create a baseline for where we are at the moment in terms of what's available and what is not available, what has been done and what needs to be done. And then from there, I think it will be easier for us to have a more targeted way forward for AI literacy.
Thank you. What about, let's go all the way on the other side of the planet to Mexico. What about you, Juan Manuel? What is your takeaway?
I'm really excited about all the work that everybody is doing, and I think we should continue our principle of openness and share and adapt and translate our resources, because it's the only way to go forward in this challenge.
And Nika, what about you?
Well, my main takeaway is that there is no one-size-fits-all approach that we can just take away from each other and apply in our local contexts, that it needs to be tailored, and probably the community-driven approach is the kind of lowest hanging fruit and probably the most ethical and responsible way, because, well, first, AI is changing every day. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but you get the vibe. And second, there are so many applications of AI that you just become irrelevant if you try to like preach your own AI enthusiasm to others. So that's my main takeaway. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Dr. Nakul Gupta.
Yeah, thank you. I think my main takeaway is the importance of ongoing context and localization specific inclusive approaches to AI literacy. See, we need to be agile when it comes to AI literacy, and much more than simply when we were talking about data and digital literacy. So we need to adapt our strategies to ensure everyone can participate and benefit from and help shape our AI-driven society, which now we are living in. So I think that's been my takeaway.
Well, thank you. I think that we all learned a lot, and I thank you everybody who attended. This was like, the initial workshop to understand from different jurisdictions how things are going and the approaches taken by experts in the area. As we have seen, there's different efforts and new actors in the room that we can learn from and resources that we can take advantage of. We will go deeper in AI literacy, trying to understand what is out there, who's the new people that we can partner with, and how can we take advantage and walk through this very complicated journey together, and how can we make it more locally relevant, available in the necessary languages, and so on. And you will hear back from us. This workshop the content will be available online. And the video will also be available online, and we hope to have follow-up materials that can invite you to participate more and also guide you in your own literacy efforts. Please stay in touch with us, and if we can help in any way, please reach out. And there will be more around this as part of the Open Data Editor project, and more in general as part of the relaunch of the School of Data. If you were a trainer, get back in touch. We will love to work together again. And if you are willing to learn more and join our communities, please reach out as well, and we will point you at ways to connect with the network and the communities that we keep at the Open Knowledge Foundation. Thank you so much, and have a nice rest of the Tuesday. For those starting today, have a great day. For those wrapping up your day, thank you so much for your generous time and participation. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.